Relevant Today wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Hasfinder. Echte zorg op maat. On demand.
My name is Gregory Arthur Kwesi. Kwesi means I was born on Sunday. Because when you come to Africa, especially Ghana, every name has a meaning. And the moment you mention your name, we know your name. So my name is Kwesi, which means I'm born on Sunday. So it's Gregory Kwesi Owusu Arthur. A lot of people call me by name Nana Gasol, which is my nickname.
Okay. You're from Ghana, you're going back to Ghana, but you've been here for a while.
Yeah.
What was your business here in the Netherlands?
Okay, in the Netherlands, actually, I sell for a company in Utrecht called Data Video. I'm their representative in Ghana, and they sell a lot of GS, like cameras and a lot of stuff about video, vision mixers and all that stuff. So coming down here, most of the time here in September, when we have IBC, that's the International Broadcast Conference. And I'm always here in September to update myself in the digital world.
This for work, but we came in contact with each other because of a big event that will take place. We're not going to get into that so much,
right.
But when we were talking, we came to a certain point of subject, the gate of no return.
Yeah.
For the people that are watching right now, can you tell us what this means?
Okay, so out of the 40 castles or ports that were built in Africa during the slave trade, 30 of them is found in Ghana. And you know, when they took most of our brethren from Africa, and excuse me to say, they took them like slaves outside, there's a particular gate at one of the biggest castles called the Cape Coast Castle. And there is a door. That's where they finally push the slaves into the ships and bring them down to wherever they want to take them to. So the idea is that they thought none of our brethren will be able to return back to Africa. So they call that door. That is the final place where the ship is docked and they push the people inside. They call it gate of no return, the door of no return. So it was in their mind that as they take them away, they will never be able to even know where they come from and ship them outside. That's why they term the gate as gate of no return. But fortunately, our brother and the blood of the black man is not lost. So after so many years, our brethren have to find their roots because the blood of Africa is still in them. And they are able to return back to the land, which is their motherland. But initially, when they were shipping them, they thought they can never ever find their roots. So the last gate is called the door of no return, and that is where they just push them outside.
Does this kind of door, what you're talking about right now, does it still exist?
Yes, the door is still there because we actually made sure we leave the castles as the crime scene. The atrocity that was the kind of wickedness and the troubles they took our brethren through. They wanted to change the narrative by changing the castles to be like a hotel or a drinking spot and all that stuff. But we made sure it doesn't work that way. So we have left it as the crime scene. So the door is still there and the castle is still there. So until most of our brethren come back and we pass them through the spiritual and the emancipation of their mindset to go through that same door and say, now we term it as door of return. That means you have been able to come back home to your motherland, which is Africa.
So if I understand it good, after hundreds of years, we as the ancestors, let's say that the seed, the Na-seed, we will be able to break that prophecy that they put on our ancestors, that we would never go back where we come from, never find our way back.
Yes.
But now we're gonna go through that same gate, but the other way.
The other way. Now we're not going to get from going out. We're now going to come in from the other side, sowing and breaking all prophecies. That yet you cannot stop the black man. The black man will still return back to Africa. That is his motherland. Yeah. That's the land of gold and honey. It is the richest continent in the whole world. And the black man will come back to Africa, and Africa will rise again. So you, the guys who were taken as slaves, you no more African descendants. Now we say you are African ascenders, because you will only ascend. So Africa is still waiting for a lot of these people who have gone out to now return back home where they belong, and they're going to ascend. And it's these same people who have to come back so that we'll build our own Africa.
Yeah. This will not be easy because we are spread out all over the world. Yep. And I don't think many people know this.
Yes. But that is the reason why we need to educate. The narration was changed. We didn't have enough knowledge and the sharing platform for people to know whom they are. Now we have a lot of platform that the narration should change. Initially, when you look at the map of Europe, it was even bigger than Ghana. But Ghana is so big, bigger than the Netherlands. But when you look at the former map that they had, it made it look like Africa was a very small continent. But now the revelation is coming, and a lot of people are studying. And that's the reason why we're doing some of this interview, for people to know whom they are. You say it's going to be difficult because you are scattered all over. But I believe that we live to see the year 2044. Because it was in 1844 that they sat down and divided Africa with borders. We were one people. They divided us. They divided Ghana and gave another border to Togo. Ghana speaks English. Togo will speak French. You move further to Nigeria, they speak English. You go to Senegal, they speak French. So we cannot communicate with each other. They did that on a purpose from 1844. Now we are in 2022. And I'm also prophesying that at the time that we get to 2044, from 1844 to 2044, between 2022 and 2044, what is going to happen in this world, the world has not seen that for all the thousands of years that has passed. The Africa will be awakened, and they will have to come back to their motherland. And that is where the narrative and everything will change. We are scattered all over, but we are all covered by one cloud. So we're going to go through the clouds like what we're doing now, and we'll spread the whole message, and we'll get our own education, and we have to tell our story. If we don't tell our story, the hunter goes to the game and hit the tigers and just bring the tail. But until the tigers tell their own story, the hunter always talk about just the tail. And that's exactly what this education that we're doing is for. So that our brethren will be educated. You see it to be something that will be quite long because you are scattered. But I tell you, it's a prophecy. The black man will rise again. Whether we like it, we don't like it, we're going to rise again. There's going to be a lot of troubles in the world, and out of those troubles, the black man will be awakened and will still need to come back to his motherland. And everything that was stolen from us, we will need to get them back. They give bad narrative about us, saying we are not civilized, we didn't wear clothes. But why do they steal most of our things into their museums? If you feel I'm not civilized, why do you carry my gold? Why do you carry ornaments that my ancestors put down? And you can find them in most of the museums in the States, museums in Germany, and other places. If I was poor and I'm not civilized, why do you steal that? So we give them the education that they stole from us. If we talk about the first university in the world, where we talk about Timbuktu, we were already civilized and we started reading. If we talk about Egypt, which is the current Egypt, the guys there are not the original people who were there. It was still the blacks because we were from the river Nile. And if you look at the architect of the pyramids, no one can still explain. All the great mathematicians from abroad, they went to study in Egypt. Pythagoras studied the Pythagoras theory from Egypt. So you ask yourself, how were we able to build the pyramids without any pillars? And it's still been sitting down for so many years. We had, when our ancestors died, we kept them in a place with just leaves, and they don't smell. And that's now when you go to the tomb, some of them are still there. It's Africa. You saw the queen? When she died, they carried a goat. Did you see the goat? And they tell Africans that is voodoo. Where did they learn that from? Why would they want to sacrifice a goat? And they tell us when you sacrifice goats, you are doing voodoo. So it's bad. And they change the narrative by bringing us the book called the Bible, just to soften it. But it's unfortunate. The same Bible, we had the names of the Egypt, we had the names like Libya, we had the names like Ethiopia, we have names like Tema, and they couldn't take those names out. So we built the White House. Until we went there was nothing like California. There was nothing like New York. We went there and created that. Even in Amsterdam, so many years ago, is the migrants who came here to make here what it is. So the narration will have to change. And that's what we are doing. And from the year 2022, like I'm saying, I'm also prophesying that by 2044, I tell you the truth, between 2022 and 2044, what will happen in the world, no one knows about it.
If I understand you clearly, is from this year,
yeah,
and 22 years from now,
yes,
in between. The big awakening for all our African diaspora.
Yeah.
But we're talking also, we're talking about people that are talking English. Yes, you say that. French.
Yeah.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
And Dutch, of course. German. It's all languages.
Yeah.
All languages. All over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not the minority right now. We are with the most.
We are with the most. Well, Africa, you know, like I was trying to let you understand, because they changed our narrative and changed our names, and they wanted us to speak their language, so they made sure they divide us in order to be able to rule us. So we talk about the Portuguese, we talk about but they just made sure they took our names out. So what happened is, they changed your name instead of giving you your African name, which is Kwesi, born on Sunday, or Kojo, or Kweku, they change you to call Roberts. They change your name to call you Michael. Because if we're communicating, our names were code. It's codec. It was the original codec. So if we conversing or communicating in our name and I mention Kojo, you know you are my brother. But their idea was to divide, make sure you don't even come together. That was their idea. So first was to change all the names by giving the names like the slave masters, you know. So now it doesn't matter anymore whether the Portuguese, the Dutch, the English, and blah, blah, blah. We're coming back. And when you come back to Africa through the gate of return, when you have been able to return, we give you your original name. When any of the diasporans come to Africa now, especially Ghana, which is the gateway, after going through all those places, we'll give you your original name, which most of the diasporans don't know. In Ghana or in Africa, most people's names are coded with the day you were born. So if I asked you, what is your date of birth?
September the 30th.
All right, I'm born on the September 5th, 65. But you, September 3rd, do you know the day you were born? No.
No.
Yes, they took the code away from you.
I can.
So you need to go and
yes.
research.
Yeah.
But that, in Africa, and especially Ghana, if I mention your name, I know the day you were born. That was the code. It was coded, but the guys tried to make sure they break the code. I hope you understand now. Yeah. That's why I'm asking you about your day of birth and you don't know. But if you know you were born on Wednesday in Ghana, you call Kweku. And that's why we have the Kweku festival. Kweku means Wednesday. And that's why you celebrate the Kweku festival on Wednesday. It's the same African name, Kweku. And there are names like Nyankopon, which is what we call God, Onyame. And then when you go to Suriname, what do you call? What name do you give to God that you want to talk about?
Be more specific. What do you mean?
What I mean is most languages, which is in the diaspora. In Ghana, we call God Onyame. Nyame.
Oh, Nyame is the name of the language you talk.
No, that's not the language. That's the name of the Almighty Creator.
Ah, Gado.
Onyankopon.
We call it Gado.
You call it Gado. Yes, Onyankopon. So they changed all these things and brought different narratives to us. And we need to understand that the African Gado is the original Gado. And then we need to go back and learn more about whom we are and know what somebody brought to us.
No, they gave us a book and they took the land.
Right.
Whereas we had the land and they had the book.
Good.
So we're going to give the book back.
Yeah. We need to give the good book back and have our land.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we're right now, yes, I can say it, we are now in the most dense populated area in the Netherlands where Surinamese people live.
Yeah.
And also African, Ghanese, most black people live in Amsterdam Southeast. And every 500 meters you have a church.
Yeah.
Talking about the white Jesus.
Yeah.
Why is that? Still so so encrypted in our system.
The point for me, I see the Bible as a technology the whites used against us. So they brought us a book and told us when they slap you, don't fight back. Turn the other left eye for the person to slap you back. They tell you be humble. Don't get rich because they want to steal our money. They say poverty is okay because if you are poor, then you can inherit the kingdom of God. Why is they steal the money and enrich themselves? for us to come and build for them. They say you will be poor, and that is why you can go to God. So this thing, that's the reason why when you come to places like this, they use the church, and the church has become part of the education that they give us to make sure that all Africans, or that was their target. So the education they gave to people, it was to make sure they humble you, and you can't reason so much for yourself, but think about becoming like them. So every school, they teach you to speak English, and they teach you not to speak your own language. They teach you, and they only taught most Africans communication. I need that, bring that, need that, bring that. But we had the art of science, and we had the sciences, and they stole all those sciences and took them away. And they tended to be like it's voodoo. So don't practice that, but they are giving you Jesus. And that Jesus they gave away was a white Jesus. But it's not possible for Jesus to be a white man. It's not possible. If we even go through the lineage, then we should have our black Jesus.
It starts with the name, because the letter G wasn't even invented till 600.
Yes.
And okay, then people will say, yeah, but it was Yahweh. Yeah, no. It's Jesus right now.
Yes.
So the name doesn't change like that.
Yeah.
It's the truth now, if it's the truth before, and the truth will be.
The truth.
So
that was Yahweh.
So the whole name thing already made it for me impossible to still believe in the story, or that Jesus was who they predicted.
No, it was actually bad narration they brought to us.
Right, but if the story is true, I have a lot of doubts, but if the story is true, and I would put this story in this time, innocent guy, try to do good, does no harm, get beat up, get hanged, and everybody's like, yeah, let's kill him. That sounds like a black man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will never happen to a white man.
No.
Not even possible.
Yes. So looking at that, that's why we need to educate ourselves and go back to our motherland to learn more about whom we are and how we can change the narration.
Yeah.
Until we do that, it's going to be very difficult for all of us. But I know the universe is coming together. I call it the zodiac. And because the universe is coming together, there's no year, there's no century that a lot of black people who were in the diaspora want to go back to their motherland like this time. And that's what I'm saying, from 2022 up to 2044, which will be the end of the kind of wrong prophecies and the ideas they meted against us. A lot of things is going to change in the world. People may not understand, but it's all for the good that the black man will be awakened to know whom himself is. Because these guys were struggling to come to the center of the world.
Hey, jij daar. Ik ben Nancy Hercule van het Ondernemers Connect. Binnenkort kan het zo zijn dat ik je connect. Want we gaan weer van start met een nieuwe tv-programma genaamd Business Lounge. So, stay tuned. Bye.
En u kunt Unlimited Fashion weer fysiek bezoeken op het Rokin in Amsterdam. 80 Pieces, your DNA.
I always ask myself why every slave that has ever been traded in that time, with the transatlantic slave trade, it all started in Ghana.
Yeah.
And then we go to the center of Earth. What's going on with Ghana?
Yeah, because actually the center of the world, or the zero reference, that is longitude 0 degrees, and latitude 0 degrees, is in the Sea of Ghana. And the closest place for any human habitat is in Tema, which is in Ghana. So as these guys were trying to sail around, they were all looking for the center of the world, which was Ghana called Gold Coast, because we had gold all around every place that we have. All the land of Ghana is full of minerals. In Africa in general, there are so many minerals that you can find in almost every place of Africa, because that is the natural place. But Ghana happens to be the center of this world. So the GMT that was developed for the world time actually is because it's the center of the world from Ghana. And still they change the narrative. They make it Greenwich Mean Time. But when we talk about Greenwich, where is the longitude 0 degrees and latitude 0 degrees? It's in Africa. And it's in Ghana. So in Ghana, the time never changes. Winter never comes, summer never goes. So winter never comes, summer never goes. And that's the center of the world. So when you move away from Ghana and you go into the long, then your time keeps changing. So that's why in the Netherlands here, we have 2 hours ahead of Ghana now. But Ghana time never changes. But in the Netherlands, when it gets to summertime, time may have to be reversed, because it's not the original place. Now, the original place in the center of the world, the time never changes. Winter never comes, summer never goes. So it's hard time we get to understand why in the whole world, Africa has the center of the world, and especially Ghana, that is where it is. With that knowledge, we must know that there is a force that we need to still come back.
Yeah.
We need to cross back. Instead of the transatlantic African trade, we need to come back to our roots. And from our roots, that's where when we come together, we will be whom we are. And I urge every diasporan, no matter where you come from, whether Portuguese, whether you went to Spain, whether you're in Kuala Lumpur, whether you are in Suriname, wherever you are, whether in the States, as far as you are a black man and you have a black hair, your roots is Africa. And I urge everyone to make sure you go back to see your motherland. You don't belong here. This is not your place. You don't belong here. Your place is Africa. And Mother Africa and your descendants, your African mamas, African daddies, they are all waiting to receive you. So come back home. And the gateway to Africa is Ghana, where we have the center of the world. But Africa is quite huge. They make it look like Africa is very small. Africa is bigger than all the Netherlands, bigger than all Europe, bigger than China, bigger than the US. But the old maps that they drew, they made us look very small. It was all supremacy. But the gates and everything have to be reversed now. That now we have black supremacy. The black man will rule the world again. We will rule this world again. And I give you a good example. You see what is happening in Europe now? Russia, Ukraine, Europe is going to suffer for gas and everything. And all that. Africa, you need to come back to your motherland. All these things is happening. They are all signs that we need to come back. Because here, they're going to go through a lot of things that they have stolen from Africa. Look at the Queen. You see the diamond they were keeping. You see the amount of gold they have put in their place. We don't have any gold mining place in the UK. So where did they get all those gold from? From the motherland. They stole from us from so many, as I was growing up in my town, they are stealing more than 100 years of taking all the gold. But still, it is deposited there. And we still have so much minerals all over. So Africans need to come back for us to develop our place. No one can do it for us, like Bob Marley said, until we emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. And the freeing of the mind is now. So when you come to Ghana and you go through the gate that you have returned, spiritually, you go through the bath, and when we have been able to help you have your mindset change spiritually, to know whom you are, then we can think of building our nation and making our nation very great and strong.
This will really be like some, you can call this trip Go Back to the Motherland, you can call it Fatherland or what you want to call it. You can really call this the repent.
The repent.
The real repent.
Right.
This is the real repent.
That's the real repent. We need to change the narrative.
Turn your back to and go back where you come from. And then you can do whatever you want. You can go back to the Netherlands or your country where you were living, but first go back to your land.
You need to come back to your motherland. If you come and you know whom you are, you know, they took most of them away, so they don't even know what Africa is.
Yeah.
And the narrative, until recently, if you go to any of their media, they paint Africa like it's a sick place, it's a jungle, we're not eating well, we live on trees, and they make it look like, no, don't go there.
Yep.
So anytime they want to paint the picture that don't go, because it puts you through a place that they call gate of no return, and they thought you will never return. But one thing I am happy with is that no matter how they try and play, and no matter how they try to push us down, they can have all technology to do everything that they want to do, but that they don't have power over death, that they will die. And we will live one day to tell our own story.
I was sitting with one of my friends, great friend. We were very talking about very specific subjects, and then came the image they are making about Africa. So we were watching what Africa really looks like, and I was like, oh my God, the whole pictures we see in the movies from Manhattan and then the skyline, the primitive.
Yeah.
I've seen cities in Africa.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what the hell have I missed? The only image they show us on TV is that little boy with that all those flies on his head. Give us money. And for real, maybe I'm wrong, but for more than 70 years, charities has taken money to give to help Africa. That is millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
And still Africa would be in trouble? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
They only find ways and means to siphon their own money. And when they say they come into Africa, their main aim is not helping people.
Yeah.
Their main aim, some of them comes as spies.
Yeah.
Some of them comes in like they are priests, but that they are spies and taking a lot of information back. Some of them bring even charity to support our farm, but they are only destroying our land with chemicals. And the kind of food that we grow formerly was very natural. So they're still finding ways and means to destroy even the land that we have.
Yeah.
Now if you come to my country, Ghana, a lot of Chinese are coming there and they are destroying the water bodies. Because in Netherlands here, everywhere we go, we buy water. In my country, from the tap, you can just drink water. But now they are trying to destroy all the water bodies so as to make sure that we still become poor and poorer. But fortunately, most of our guys who are taking over, like I'm saying, the descendants, now are going to be ascendants. Because they've learned the tricks, they've learned how to make the cars, they've learned how to keep water, they've learned how to make sure the ship sail, they've learned almost every trade. All that is needed now is to ascend and come back to Africa and say enough is enough. And they will build our country back.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about media, because we had a few examples about what the Western media, let's say that the Western wants people to think about Africa. Another subject I heard somebody talk about because all the things that are happening now in the West and especially Europe with the gas price going sky high, and I think the economy will drop like a bomb. We will have a depression like 100 years ago, and they will say it's the Russians, but there's something awkward what I notice about the Russians. If I look at the history in time, and the Russians are a very big nation.
Yeah.
They are the only one.
Soviet Union at that time.
They are the only one that never participated in the slave trade.
Yes.
Every other nation, if they have the chance, they do it. They still do it.
Yes.
And they're still doing it.
Yes. So Russia is actually the only Soviet Union who never participated in all the slave trade.
Yep.
So most people in the Europe and the States, they have benefited so much from the black man. It is hard time we start talking about reparation. Because they use this to build and they want to dump us. And they are still using the divide and rule for them to divide us and rule us. And I'm saying from 1844 in Berlin, that's where they sat down to divide Africa to create borders. Now by 2044, I believe we have to do everything possible to break the borders. Because that's one thing they did to make sure when you come back, they frustrate you. I am here in Amsterdam. All I need is Schengen visa. I can go to France, I can go to Germany, I can go to Swiss, and I can go anywhere. In the States, when I have a US visa, I can go to any states I want. They want to make sure you come to Africa. In the divisions, they are giving you even more borders to frustrate you. So you are in Ghana, you want to go to Togo, which is the next close place, and they demand a visa from you. You move to Benin, which is the next place, they demand a visa from you. You move to the next place like Nigeria, they demand a visa. And sometimes it takes 1 day, 2 days before you can even get a visa. So they don't want you even to come back to Africa to explore where you belong. They're still putting borders so that when you have 2 weeks holidays or 3 weeks holiday, you cannot go to Africa. But you just go to just one place and you need to return. And I think it's hard time we start breaking these borders. So the first president of Ghana, his name is Kwame Nkrumah. He works so close with people like Patrice Lumumba, and works so close with guys in the state who are looking for freedom for the blacks, you know. And he said the independence of Africa, independence of Ghana will be meaningless if it is not totally linked to the total liberation of Africa. So he started talking about African Union. At that time, Europe never even thought there could be a union. They stole the same idea from us, and now they have implemented European Union. And they're still finding ways to ask people to come to Africa, and they just cause trouble as they go behind people to start coups and destabilize the nation. Then they can have time to steal our gold whilst we are busy fighting. But there's a day coming within these days that everything is going to change. A lot of Africans are getting awakened now. And we're saying, look, there's no need fighting each other. Let's look for the rare enemy. Your brother is not your enemy. But that, they want to make sure before you can get anything from your brother becomes your enemy. But the real enemy behind the scene is not your brother. And we need to uproot that. Until we uproot and tackle the real enemy, then we could not get anywhere. But within these 22 years now, I tell you, we will live to see it. And hopefully, maybe that time we are old, and then we may meet to talk about this day and the prophecy that we shared.
Yes, we will do that. That's the deal.
Yeah.
We, as people that are doing media, we also have a responsibility.
Very, very.
And it's a big one because the Western media is not doing a good job for us,
Yeah.
so we have to do a good job for ourselves. What do you think are the first steps we can take to even bring more awareness to the people? Because we basically got brainwashed a lot.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, between the year 2022 to 2044, a lot of things are going to happen. You know, formerly with the Western media, we had no chance. You couldn't put a camera on me and start recording so that we can share. And it was so expensive to even get a chance to speak on any media. So they made sure they told stories to suit themselves. Fortunately, now we have TV on our mobile phone, which is in our hands. And fortunately, Africans can afford to have a mobile phone. So the same way that they turn against us.
As a matter of fact, they own it. Here, we don't own our phones because we pay rent for our phones.
Yeah, okay, let's say
in Africa, they own it.
Yes, so let's say we're paying rent for our phones, but that is not going to pay so much for the school. Because they still make the school system very expensive for you to be able to go through the blah, blah, blah and teach you different things. Now with your phone, like what we're doing, we have the world at our fingertips. So just as they use the television to brainwash us and make sure they spoke negative about Africa, everything Africa is negative, now we have to use the same media
To reverse.
to make sure as a tool to reverse everything.
Yes.
So now if they tell us Africa we live on trees, we show them we don't live on trees.
Yeah. Not tomorrow, but Thursday, you're going back to Ghana.
Yeah.
What is the first thing you're going to do? Because you're also a cameraman making your
Yeah.
own media. You're a producer.
Yeah, so
What can we expect coming time from you?
Yeah, so when I go to Ghana, fortunately, I'm going to make a lot of videos
Yeah.
to start sharing. And especially now that we've met, it's not by accident. It's divine that we'll meet so that we can be part of the story, to share our story to the whole world and let our brothers know where they have painted us dark to put more light there. So when I go to Ghana, I'm going to do a lot of videos. And like we discussed, we want to make sure our brethren in the diaspora. For now, we are in Amsterdam, so we're talking more about the Surinamese and the people who are here. And we want to organize a very good trip so that as many as they are, people should just come visit their motherland. It's important to reverse all the negative stuff. When you come there, you take the water and then we shower you and we bath you and you go through the gate of return. Your spiritual being will be revived. And as it revives and you come, you can do a lot of things on your own. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to meet the minister and some few people who are in the tourism industry and see how best we can reach our brethren to come. If we don't come to experience it, sometimes you don't understand what we're talking about. But when you come to experience it and we take you to the crime scene, which we are protecting. They wanted to destroy the castle, but we will not allow them to destroy it. We want to use it as a crime scene that we are protecting. So you see how wicked people were and the atrocities that they caused to the black race by taking our strong men, our great guys, and taking them through some doors and thinking that as they have wasted their time, as they go, they can never return. We're going to reverse all that. And you need to experience it. If we don't experience it, we're going to make sure that we work out to this time that it becomes more like a spiritual pilgrimage. That all of you will have to return at least once in your lifetime, see your motherland, where you belong. And that is where all the gold is. That's where all the diamonds are. That is where all the oils are. It's only that these guys have just plotted to make sure they divide us. And they make sure people are fighting so they can take it. But it's going to stop. Because we're getting more wiser. And getting more repentance that anything that's happened to us. And sometimes you feel, why did some people sell us? No, no one sold you. That was not the intention of your ancestors. Your ancestors could send you to go get some fish or meat and come, and along the way, people arrest you and they took you here. So even in Africa, in Ghana, there are some people who don't know. People are also still searching for their children who were taken away. So we are looking for you to come back to your roots, that your family people will be happy to say, this is my son who was taken away, and I'm happy he has come back home. So we are really waiting to accept our brethren. It's not the reverse. Africa has opened its arms, waiting for the brethren who are out. So take it out of your mind that somebody was wicked to sell you to a white slave. No, that was not the case. Just as you are, we see you as a lost son. Your father is still searching. Your grandfather is still searching. Our descendants are still searching. And they are calling on the doors that come back home. And that is the message that we need to carry. So as I go, that's some of the messages I want to carry. But my brethren are outside. So I expect people like you to also help us take the message to them that no one sold them. It was a crime that the people committed against us. Your grandfather is still looking for you. Your great-grandmother is still looking for you. And when you come, you will find us open up our arms to receive you back. So we are waiting for you to come to Africa, especially Ghana.
The center of the world. Thank you for this cooperation because we're going to work together. Adam TV, you're in Ghana.
Yeah.
What's the name of your
Studio 502.
Oh, I hear a phone.
No, it's outside.
Oh, okay.
The door. So Studio 502 is my consultancy firm, and I work for most of the TV stations in Ghana as a consultant.
All right.
So I have the opportunity to place things on most of the TV stations.
That's very nice, because from here we can also send you footage from Relevant Today, what is happening here, the preparation, and when you send it to us from out of, we can make a Relevant Today in the Netherlands.
Right.
And I also have the same opportunity like you on TV. I want to thank you very much for this conversation, for this enlightening talk, and I hope the people that watch right now have a little more insight in what is really going on, and where we're going, because that's and how they can participate. Right. But first, starting, go to Ghana.
Yeah, the center of the world.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.